Hello, I'm going to tell you about a product that does not require any fees, generates an income for the merchant, generates an income for us, and it's super easy to set up. It's called dynamic currency conversion. So what is it? Dynamic currency conversion is all about how we make it easy for the end customer to check out. Now, you will have come across this and you may not know it, but when you're paying for your hotel on holiday or on a business trip and you've got a currency card in sterling and you're paying in euros, and quite frequently you'll be asked, do you want to pay for that in euros? But your card's a sterling card. That is dynamic currency conversion in action. So we're going to take a look at how it works, what it is, and why we would do it in the first place. So let's take a look at what it's like without dynamic currency conversion. So you have a cardholder coming to the shopkeeper who's selling in euros, and the cardholder has got a sterling card. The transaction goes through to the acquirer, which is ourselves, in euros, and then it's processed through to the issuer, who's going to charge the customer a sterling amount. Now, at the point the customer is making the payment, they don't know how much they're going to be charged in sterling. And the customer's bank is doing the conversion and taking the FX margin. So how do we do it? So we have an arrangement with a company called Fexco. So here's how our process works with DCC. The merchant's shopping cart comes through to trust payments. We recognize that the card is different currency to the currency the merchant's selling. At that point in time, we pull a live rate into the process. And we get those rates from our partner Fexco, who operate in the FX markets. Following that, the merchant will get paid in the currency they expect. But critically, the customer sees exactly what they're going to pay in their home currency. So going back to the whole flow, with DCC, we see the cardholder comes in with a sterling card, but now at the checkout, we give the cardholder the choice. Do they want to pay in sterling? Do they want to pay in the merchant's currency, which is euros in this case? And they see that right at the checkout. If they pick DCC, we make the conversion happen for them. And the transaction that goes through the acquiring process is the cardholder's currency. So the cardholder knows exactly what their bank will charge them on their bank account at the end of the process. So what's in it for the merchant? The fee that we charge a standard 3.5%, and we split that revenue. 1% goes to the merchant, 1.35% goes to Fexco, our partners, and Trust earns 1.15%. So the merchant only has to ask the customer, do they want to pay in their home currency? And the merchant generates that additional revenue. Now, this is valid for Visa and MasterCards on point-of-sale devices and can be presented on e-com via our payment pages. There is an obligation, you'll see here, for us to show the merchant and the customer the choice. And we look at this in a bit more detail. So that's the kind of page a customer would see online. And critically, we have to give them the choice here between paying in their home currency, what the amount is, what the margin is. So showing it a bit more expanded, you can see the actual margins that we'd be charging, and these are examples, against their home currency. Before they commit, and then a receipt afterwards. Now, these are our regulatory obligations. The actual text is our obligation to make sure we make it very clear, and Visa and MasterCard check that these are presented in a compliant way. So when we come to onboard the client, so the merchant, the terms that we offer them are exactly those margins that we saw earlier. Now, this is not for all merchants. There are some MCC codes, so crypto merchants, money service businesses. It's the kind of merchant where converting currency or moving currency is part of their core competence. It's what they do for their business. Typically, they do not want dynamic currency conversion. So when they're going through the merchant application form, it will not default to yes. For all other MCCs, the default is yes, and the merchant doesn't have to do anything. Now, if the merchant does directly integrate to us, it's very important to note that we need to make the point to the merchant and the merchant's technology team that they need to add DCC to their integration process. Otherwise, the merchant will have signed up and it will not be appearing to their customers as an option. So the merchant will miss out on the revenue. Even if we set them up, they have to be able to offer it to the customer. So what's in it for the merchant? Just to remind ourselves, the merchant takes no FX exposure. They receive the currency they're expecting. They also receive the revenue. If they use our payment pages or our point of sale devices, there's no additional setup for them. They just need to have selected it on the application form. And critically, they make that additional revenue. Now, for the customers, if we look at what's in it for them, they get to see exactly what they're going to be charged. If they're less familiar with the currency of the country in which they're buying something, they'll get to see exactly what they're going to be charged whenever it is they see their statement. So it's a much easier shopping experience for the customer. And critically, they're not paying any more because remember, their own bank would be taking an FX margin at the end of the process. So there's something in it for us. Critically, the merchant earns a fee and the customer has a much happier shopping experience. So that's all I have to cover today. There's more information and these slides will be available on TrueHub. Thank you.